Actually, now we can tie this into a previous question I know you want to ask, which was regarding my contacts. I'm like,
Yes.
why I have this look. So, one of the things that
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
Interest of the greater good for me to smoke a joint and calm down.
I am the greatest. He'll fall an eight to prove that I'm great. And if he keeps talking Jack, I'm going to cut it to five.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ville Chillin' Podcast. Today, we are talking to Joel Nathan, and he's a Via Colori artist. Dusty introduced us, and we're pretty excited to actually talk to you. You know, we got some of your art scrolling behind us, and we can't wait to talk about some of the inspiration. But man, why don't you just kind of give us a little bit? You know, just let us know like who you are, how you got started in art, and things like that.
Okay. Well, of course, as you know, my name is Joel Nathan, otherwise known by social media as Master Joel Nathan. Kind of a title I gave myself, but anyway,
where does that come from? The master. Where does that come from? Like I was thinking, kind of like the masters of art, you know, like the like Da Vinci's and things like that.
No,
and he was thinking, oh, okay, awesome, because he was thinking,
I was
like,
thinking
like,
Jedi.
Yes, I was like, okay, cool, awesome. Sorry, okay,
that or like Master of Mystic Arts, Doctor Strange. Any one of that would be good.
Doctor Strange is amazing, man.
Oh, yeah.
So actually, yeah. So basically, during my high school days, my old drama teacher, she once referred to me as a Renaissance man, which of course is a term for one who is like multi-talented in many different aspects. And so that when I came up with the name Master Joel Nathan, that's what I was referring to, and sorry, I can't speak, was a reflection of my goal of trying to be a modern day Renaissance master and being prolific in all I do, whether it be art, whether it be acting, whether it be cosplay, to just be prolific in everything I do.
Love that. You can definitely see in your art, like you wear multiple hats. So we'll go further into that. But so like, is that when you got into art, like back is high school, or is it just something that you've always done?
Oh, that's something I've always done. So in general, like I first started painting in middle school, but I always had an interest in art, like say when I was, I want to say like 6 years old. And aside from the fact that there actually is some artistic background in my family from my father's side and my mother's side, especially my great uncle. Weirdly enough, it was actually a film that kind of got me into painting. Randomly, it was and as a kid, I was always fascinated by the rotunda painting in that movie, so much that I would fast forward and rewind my VCR all the time just so I could look at that painting from different angles. So that was one of the things that got me into painting specifically. And so I've been painting since I was in middle school in general. And like I kept at that for like ever since.
That's awesome.
But,
Can you?
Yeah.
What was the movie again? We kind of froze for just a second when you said the movie.
Oh, you're good. It was The Page Master.
The Page Master. Okay.
And Christopher.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
hell yes.
So like if you ever like look at all these like sidewalk chalk murals, especially like the large 10x10 ones, I always like try to invoke that like large majestic mural feeling to kind of like invoke the same feeling in others that like that painting did to me as a kid. So like that's always kind of been my goal whenever I create these large scale murals.
And that's so cool. So how did you get into street art specifically? Because, you know, obviously most of what you sent us that people are seeing behind us is street art. You can see it on, you know, concrete sidewalks, walkways, whatever. How did you get into street art specifically?
So actually that is, it's kind of a crazy story. And I always tell people it's kind of like a mixture of tragedy, neutrality, and finally divinity. So another fun fact, a lot of people, well, a lot of people do know about me is that I used to work a lot in the film industry as a background artist. A lot. I've had like cameo appearances in movies like Black Panther, Rampage,
Wow.
Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and several other Fox-related TV shows. And flash forward to August of 2017, I had a job as a chalk artist on season 2 of the show MacGyver. And now, granted, I only had experience with chalk one time, and that was like for a class project in high school. And so like I only had an idea like, okay, I can just apply that to pavement. And I gave myself time to practice when I did get the job. And so flash forward to the day, it was August 14th, 2017. And like, of course, like I'm excited. I made it to set earlier, probably almost before anybody on background camp did. I was like, kind of like resting in my car in between. Then finally they give me the paperwork to sign. I'm ready to go to set. I got all my references ready to create this piece because it's supposed to be taking place in Paris. I'm supposed to be like a chalk artist in Paris. Then they gave me directions to the set. Then finally, I can't find the set.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I'm looking for the signs that they show me. The signs are not there. And then when I try to call them, my phone dies. Like everything that could have possibly went wrong that day. And so I finally decided, you know what, the smartest thing I can do, just go to background camp, see if somebody can give me a ride to the filming set right quick. They decided to scrape the character.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so
that sucks so much because you said MacGyver. I've watched the whole newer MacGyver series, so I was like, oh man. That's so cool. But to even be selected for that is amazing. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
It's so cool that like but then they decide to get rid of the character. So how did you feel then?
Well, we're talking about the tragedy part of the story. Like it was the downward slope that happened as a result was not pretty. And I won't go into the details, but like I felt very, very miserable afterwards. So during that whole like 6-month period when I did my first ever piece, like it was mainly just like kind of contemplating, okay, maybe I should just like do it just to get it out of my system. That way I can kind of like give myself closure, move on from it. And actually the piece you're seeing right there, that was the first one I ever did, was of
that's the Black Panther.
Boseman's, T'Challa. And that was done on the premiere of Black Panther Day, which was a big day for me anyway, because as I said, I do have a small cameo role in Black Panther. And it was like during the South Korea fish market scene outside of the casino. So that was a big day for me anyway. So the morning prior, I ended up having like a dream that I'm looking for places to do sidewalk chalk. It just happened out of the clear blue. But as a result of that dream, instead of getting the 6 hours of sleep I planned for, I ended up waking up 3 hours earlier. And it was not like that feeling of sleep deprivation, 3 hours of sleep. It was more like you wake up and you're alert because like you know what you have to do. So it's like, this is a sign. And not to mention, I still have the chalk from the previous gig because it's unopened. I never used it. I still have the supplies I needed. I just need references. I went in, printed my references at my local library, what I would need to like reference and draw from. I went to my local Regal Theater and I told them, I'm interested in doing this. What are your thoughts? And they said, oh, well, that's actually good. We haven't had an artist do stuff for a premiere in a long time. Yeah, go right ahead. And then afterwards, so like I just did it. It only took a few hours because like pieces like these in my earlier days, I used to do a lot of minute pieces that were only like took maybe 3 or 4 hours of work. So this was very easy to do. But then finally, I get discovered by my local gallery in that same neighborhood. And suddenly they're inviting me to do work for them. Actually, I believe that image went semi-viral in the Columbia community because the next thing I know, my notifications are blowing up with people sharing the same image over and over again. And so like I was like, okay, I guess I'll just keep up at this. And yeah, so I just started doing work for my local gallery. Then flash forward to a year later, I decided that when Elton John was in town, I decided I was just going to randomly I wasn't recruited by the arena or Elton or anybody in any way. I just decided to do it. But next thing I know, Elton's photographer ended up meeting me. He snapped a photo of me. And next thing I know, I'm seeing Elton sharing my artwork on the front of his Instagram.
That's
and
so cool.
Yeah, it was like everything just like started to fall into place afterwards. But of course, then 2020 hit and
COVID.
pandemic, we're all on lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of like it was rough for all of us. But career-wise, I really didn't know what to do. But when 2021 came around, and I got my first gig after the pandemic. I got hired by my local library to do work for them. Then when a fellow artist said I should be taking my work to like New York or other places, that's when I decided, okay, all right, everything's opening up again. I want to finally go out into the world more. And so I started taking a chance. And yeah, I booked my first out-of-state gig it was Chatsworth and Duluth, Georgia, back to back. Then I did Virginia Beach. In October was a back-to-back of Bartow, Florida, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and then finally my first Via Colori, which was...
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Because we definitely had that question lined up, like, how did you get started with Via Colori? What's up, everybody? We just wanted to take a quick pause and say, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop us a couple comments. Let us know what you like, what you don't, and let us know what you think about the video. And make sure to share out with your friends and family. It really helps us a lot.
Yeah, we're on every social media platform. We're on every podcast provider out there. So whenever you get a chance, just give us a like, give us a follow. We definitely appreciate it. It really help us out.
And with that, we'll get right back to it.
Okay. So naturally, because I didn't know where to go except Google as far as like figure out like where like these certain chalk festivals were. So being more so based in the Southeast already, like that was my first priority. So I would just like Google Chalk Art Festival, Florida, Chalk Art Festival, Kentucky, and so on and so forth. And naturally, Via Colori had popped up, and I decided, oh, this would be pretty good. And I fell in love with that festival right away. I mean, not just like for the big crowd or like the wide variety of artists, but also just like the freedom of like not having to worry about like competition or anything like that, like doing something for a good cause. And also, I say like performing on that balcony area, like right next to the Ohio River, I think what grabbed my attention because like it was probably one of the most beautiful views I ever chalked to at that time. And I mean, still, it's one of my favorite views to chalk next to. But yeah, ever since then, Via Colori, coming up on my 4th year this year, has been the most I've ever chalked at the same location.
And that's so
counting,
cool.
Yeah, not counting places I've already done at home, like Regal Theaters, but I mean, like the most, like the longest I've ever chalked at an out-of-state location.
So you mentioned Georgia and then Atlanta and stuff. So are you from the Georgia area? Is that where you're primarily located?
Oh, no, I'm actually based in Columbia, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. When you were talking about the acting and stuff, you mentioned Atlanta and Georgia. So I just wasn't sure, but it sounds like you've been all over the place.
No, you're good, because that's actually what throws off people a lot. So the reality of the work I've done in Atlanta was, so anytime I did get a job, that would mean 7-hour round trip to and fro. I get a call to another job, 7-hour round trip to and fro. So that was like another factor in the stress of those jobs. Like, even though some of them were gratifying and I do have good stories from it, it was a lot of driving, and I racked up a lot of miles on my car simply because of that era in my life. But so it was a lot that I was doing, balancing those different jobs that took a 7-hour round trip and a day job.
Yeah, I can't imagine like with the day job and traveling. So just because we've already kind of talked about Via Colori and chalk art, Being such a chalk artist, how do you feel knowing that these pieces don't necessarily last?
I think what I usually like tell people is the fact of the matter is, like, especially coming from my spiritual beliefs, nothing is going to last forever anyway. And I especially don't believe like this world itself is going to last forever. So like when people say the same question about my work, I have to remind them, well, you need to know Van Gogh's Starry Night, that's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, that will be destroyed eventually too. It's all going to go away. So really the only difference is like my art, their art's going to last longer. My art's only going to last a few days. But I think what we need to appreciate is like what we were able to experience today is like, did I enjoy making these pieces? The audiences, I got the pleasure of viewing them in front. Did you enjoy seeing the art? Then you get to revel in the fact that you got to sell a temporary masterpiece that was only there for a moment. And so like, my thing is just like, cherish the beauty for today. And that's all there is to it.
And that makes so much sense because we've all seen pictures of Starry Night. We've all seen pictures of Mona Lisa. I personally have never seen either one in person. And so there's really no difference being able to see photographs, digitized images of the art, but the art existed in its reality in that moment. And it's really cool that you just take that in. That's really cool to me.
Definitely, you can tell like you appreciate it more knowing that it's just temporary. Like, kind of enjoy it for that moment.
Yeah, that's really cool. You've already kind of mentioned that the way your social handle came about, Master Joel Nathan, came from the Renaissance. Would you say that's where your artistic inspiration comes from, or like what would you say your artistic inspirations are?
Well, as I said, when we were like talking about like what inspired me like when I was 6 years old and like getting that feeling of like wanting to create something like beautiful, majestic, and colorful. I mean, as I said, that painting from the Page Master really left a mark on me, which I like creating like gigantic splashes of color, like where people can like look at something and like it kind of like takes them to another world at heart. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to like talk about like certain people who inspired me, easily Stanley is at the top of the list. A person who I've had the pleasure of meeting a few times before he had passed. But one thing that I take to heart, the words he said, and it has definitely worked wonders in my life, is it comes with the story he tells when Spider-Man was first rejected. Mm-hmm. And of course, now it's a success. And he just said, like, if you have an idea that you believe is good, don't let some idiot talk you out of it. And to be honest, had I not decided to like make that big leap, then probably none of this would have happened at all. And heck, and like the leaps never really stopped, because if you're in 2022, when I decided to make the leap of going to California for the first time in Palm Springs, after I got out of the airport and I was like walking to downtown, because it's only a 2.3 mile walk from the airport to downtown, in my mind, I was really starting to get imposter syndrome in a way, because I was starting to think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm actually here. It's like, should I even be doing this? Is this even right? And so like there was a lot of self-doubt, but I was there because I thought like I was ready. And if you believe you're ready, and that's the piece I did at Palm Springs. And
that one right by.
It's perfect timing. That's awesome.
Stan Lee. It's with Stan Lee.
Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Spider-Man so cool. With Stan Lee. And it turned out to be a good move, because it was just a cascade of events. It won Best in Show, which means that I was able to cover my flight and my hotel with the prize money. I was able to meet the members of the Chalk Mafia and get connected with the other West Coast artists. It was it's like everything went right just because I
It's-
decided to take a chance.
It's
It's like,
well,
yeah, I mean, if you fail, you try tomorrow. If you win, you win. It's like, that's all there is to it.
but that imposter syndrome, you be inside your head, and then you turn, you come out to be the winner or whatever. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
that's so cool. It's such a Cinderella story, if you will. But it's funny that story led us into Stan Lee, because we had a question about, how has Marvel, influenced you? Because obviously, like, a lot of your art, when you really look through it, and the pieces that you sent us are very Marvel themed and or Disney themed. And so, how have those companies impacted you, I guess? But you already kind of spoke on Stan Lee. But if I'm not mistaken, a couple of the pieces you sent us look like it's like a Moana. It looks like a realistic version of Moana almost, or something along those lines.
No, you are correct. So actually, yes. And sometimes my own friends even like inspire me. That so that Moana piece, those models that you see in there are actually people I know. My friends, Jordan and Daryl, who like me are fellow cosplayers, and so like I was inspired by their work, and I decided to actually mash up references of them together to create that piece. And another one that you even see, like we see Billy Kaplan and Wanda Maximoff, Wiccan and the Scarlet Witch. Of course, that is Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda, but that reference of Billy is actually my friend Leo. So that is another cosplay friend of mine. So I also like the privilege of being able to like draw my friends at times, especially like when I can like give that back to them.
That's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool that you actually incorporate that, because to me, I can't really see the difference. I just see like a different version of what I know it should be. But knowing that it's your friends, them knowing that it's you doing that, in homage, it's for them. That's a really cool thing to me. I think that's really cool.
So it's like an Easter egg for yourself, because like he said, it's almost like we were just thinking it was like your interpretation of it, and it was really cool, and then it's an homage to them. So
exactly. So you've already spoken about being able to travel around and go to different states and stuff, but we saw on your Instagram that you, I think, recently went to Japan. Was that
Yes.
Was that recent? I was just gonna say, like, how was that? And like, was it the art? Was it the culture? Was it both? Was it a love of anime? All of those things. Just what inspired that trip?
So actually, I went because it was actually my brother's 40th birthday at the time. And of course, naturally, he wanted to go. And of course, I mean, I always wanted to go because, I mean, I just love everything about it. I mean, not just like, the anime, the culture. I also like wanted to like get to like meet new people at the same time. The people are delight, by the way. Like I enjoyed meeting so many like new people over there. But I mean, I got to like experience so much. Of course, like being, as you saw, like the Miyazaki Studio Ghibli piece, I did get to visit Ghibli Park and Full Howl Cosplay, and I actually got to meet a lot of Kiki and Sophie cosplayers. I went to Osaka Castle and also did an official tea ceremony, which got to learn the history of the tea ceremony, which originated in Osaka. And I got to even like rent a kimono at a kawaii kimono rental shop right in Osaka, and the people who did the rentals were very nice. But Universal Studios Japan, as I said, I mean, that place was a dream come true. Like even like now, aside from the jet lag, like I still have like culture shock. Was like part of me like has to think like, my gosh, was that even a dream? But
yes.
it was like so surreal.
It seems so cool because I saw some of the pieces on Instagram where you paid homage to, I'm bad with names, but the creator of Dragon Ball and things like that. And
Yeah.
that's so cool because I definitely grew up watching Dragon Ball. I don't watch a ton of anime now, but it was so cool just being able to see that because I always loved the Japanese culture anyways, whether it's, the Shogun, whether it's, Bushido, whether it's drifting. I'm a big car guy and I love drifting, and that all originates in Japan. Like, so many things just culminate to Japan. So it was so cool seeing your piece, on Instagram where you did that. It was a phenomenal piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was so cool. So how often do you cosplay, and did cosplay come before the art, or did the art kind of come first? I know you said you were an actor, so
yeah.
Did it kind of start with the cosplay and then you decided to start doing the chalk art, or?
So, of course, the chalk art originated, as I said, as a result of the MacGyver incident on August of 2017. I didn't start cosplaying until I was 21, but what inspired that was when my brother surprised me for a late birthday gift. I met Jason David Frank, of course, the original Green Ranger, years before he had passed. It was a meet and greet. And so, we did that together. But, of course, eventually when we got to go to the con floor, this was my first convention, by the way, so it was pretty impactful. That's when I got introduced to the concept of cosplay. I was like, oh, my gosh, this is pretty cool. And it just made me realize, heck, why don't I do that? Why don't I just, make, stuff I'm proud of? And so Bonsai Con 2014, it was about a few months later, one of my first cosplays, of course, I did Nicholas D. Wolfwood from my favorite anime, which was Trigun. And of course, I just wanted to.
That's such a good anime. That's one I have seen, and it's definitely one of my favorites. It's so good.
Easily. And actually, just sidetrack a little bit. I found a good Wolfwood statue while I was in Osaka, and so I was very happy I found that.
That's so cool, man. Japan is just on a different level. Sorry to interrupt you, but
You're good.
Trigun is one of those ones that I have watched multiple times through, and it's so good.
It was the first one I binged during the pandemic. The first one I rebinged.
It's so good.
But anyway, when I did a Wolfwood at Bonsai Con, because of course Johnny Young Bosch was actually a guest at that con, so I had done Wolfwood specifically for that reason too. But it had turned out so well because especially the giant Punisher cross I made, it was I was not used to people swarming me for photos. It was a very weird feeling, but kind of invigorating at the same time. But afterwards, I just started getting more into it. My cosplay didn't really take off too much until, want to be a good year. I'd say maybe 2021, possibly, when I started taking it a little bit more seriously. And but yeah, it just started doing more well. I started doing more performances in cosplay. I started creating more award-winning cosplays. Probably one of my more prolific ones being Zombie Doctor Strange, but and also getting published for my work as Namor. For a shoot I did in DC, but I just started taking my craft level to a whole new perspective, and I just been getting more serious about all my art and my cosplay.
And that's really cool because it sounds like that whole fiasco that happened with the MacGyver set kind of led to it, because you said that was back in 2017, 2018. And then you got into all the chalk stuff, and then the that took off, and then the cosplay took off, and you're really just kind of doing, it sounds like you're doing just everything that you want to do anyways, and
just about, yeah.
That's really an awesome story. I love it.
Thank you.
We're all about cool people doing cool things. So
And we talked to Bradzilla. He made a good point. He was talking about like how artists, sometimes you have to take that pain and that suffering and then kind of channel that, into your art. And you can definitely see that with these pieces like this. What's your plans for the future? Like, where's some other places you want to go to and spread your art?
Ooh. So naturally, so of the big three, naturally, I've always wanted to do Hollywood, Chicago, and Manhattan, New York. Burbank was done, and that was another best in show city. So like that's fulfilled. So I eventually want to finally do work in Chicago and in the heart of New York City. But of course, I always wanted to take my work into like the home of chalk art, which of course would be Italy, and do work there and do work in other countries. I know another goal of mine would to be eventually, hopefully, get into Festival of the Arts in Epcot. That would be a dream job because I have like so many like live action Disney pieces I want to imagine that I want to like create for that festival. It's like so many ideas. Like I'm like, if they offer me a pitch meeting right now, I could like give them all these ideas right now. But yeah. So I mean, I have like a lot of ideas. Nothing set in stone because I mean, like plans do fall through, and actually, to be honest, this year was probably one of the roughest years I've had with rejection letters, believe it or not. And not to mention, like some of those trips, as I said, like Palm Springs was only able to pay for itself because the prize money helped cover it. Otherwise, like stuff like that in Burbank, the reality is like I pay for those out of pocket. So I'm dependent on overtime money from my day job in order to fund some of these trips. And my overtime got hit recently. So it's been a little bit of a rough job, but thankfully there's still like work in a rough year, but thankfully there's still work like Via Colori, which I can still afford to do and still be able to like travel at my own expense and like come down.
And we definitely appreciate you coming.
Yes.
We're based in Louisville. We definitely appreciate you coming to just represent your art in the city and show people the talent and show people that our humble city is a hub. It's kind of in the center of so many places, and we've loved it. We can't wait to see. You're going to be there this year, right? So
yes, 4th year.
That's
nice.
So cool. And it does go to an amazing cause, which you mentioned, and we can't wait to see what you have planned for that. I mean, I'm not going to ask that. I don't want to spoil anything, but we're going to be there, so we might hit you up while you're in the middle of it and ask if we can ask a couple of questions. But
absolutely,
I can't wait. Your story is really cool, man. I hope things start to pick up. Being able to travel is so cool, and travel for your art, that I can't even imagine how cool that must be. And what's showing behind us is just a small testament to it. So
thank you.
I think you already mentioned it a little bit, but how did you end up with the Elton John pieces? Like, where was that at? And
so that was actually close to home. That was at my local arena in downtown. And as I said, because like I didn't have anything planned, it was just kind of like a mere like I wanted to chalk, and like I kind of like had this impulse is like, okay, like if somebody stops me, like I mean they stop me, and then it happens. But I just like nobody told me anything. I just wanted to do it, and Ellen's photographer just met me out in the street, like about like a few minutes after I finished that piece. But
that's so cool. That's street art at its core, though. Honestly, whether you want to, street art, chalk art, graffiti, that's kind of, you make art where you can make art happen. And if you can do it in front of the right people, that's really cool.
Absolutely.
I love that. It's art for art's sake.
Yes.
So, And I think we've covered most of what we have here. Did you want to bring anything up? I mean, obviously, we'll link all your socials. So I think it's Master Joel Nathan on pretty much all socials that we found.
Except my Facebook. I did kind of bring it back, but I had to change the URL because unfortunately another downside to this year, my personal Facebook did get hacked into. So unfortunately I did lose the Master Joel Nathan URL to the old account. So there is another Facebook version of it. It is me, just to be clear. But so the URL is not the same. It is Joel Nathan, but slightly different. But so that's why I didn't include my Facebook. It's more so like really there just in case somebody wants like a quick link, like especially for people hosting events, they can quickly see a portfolio of my entire art without the cosplay. But otherwise my main ways that people can like reach me is like Instagram and or TikTok.
Your Instagram shows everything. That's kind of where we saw everything. That's how I found the Dragon Ball piece in homage to Akira Toriyama, I think. Did I say that right? Hey, I did it.
Good job.
It's really, I know that shows everything, and it's a true testament to your art. And it's so cool just hearing your journey from being in high school, just kind of getting into, or I guess middle school and painting, high school and acting, and things like that, and just going from there. I think the journey is an amazing story. Like I said, when you started talking about the show, the MacGyver show, I was like, oh, I saw that, and I was like, oh, like it was even just an up and down for me right here because I did watch that, and then I was like, oh shoot, maybe I could have seen him. Oh, yeah. And so I'm very I'm sorry for that. But it sounds like it kind of led to bigger and better things.
Definitely.
And I think that's always like the way you should like always look at it, because I think about like look at the hypothetical, like say that I did get that job and then it did happen. Not only probably would all this not have happened, you figure like what's going to happen anyway. Eventually, MacGyver's not going to be on the air anymore. Mm-hmm. That episode's going to be long forgotten, and so I think I believe it was like Robert Downey Jr. who said it. Was like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I was like, that
sounds about right.
Yeah, and like my plans were minute compared to what actually happened. And it was like, I never planned for this, but like, I love it so much and it's been gratifying the entirety of the time. And now looking back.
Yeah,
definitely humbling, but motivating at the same time. Definitely, so inspiring.
So, along the same notes, who would you say your favorite Marvel character is, and why?
Ooh, top two, Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock. Mainly because Silver Surfer, I always liked the designs, but Adam Warlock, I kind of always related to on a personal level to a certain degree. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's there's sometimes I think it was the third issue of Infinity War, he's bringing up a lot of the stuff that he had to sacrifice along the way, and it's he almost kind of wanted to rage quit. It's I'm done. Let somebody else save this universe, because he's just so mentally exhausted and done with life. It's there was moments in that character's stories where it hit on a personal level, as it hit deep. I always loved Adam Warlock,
and that's really cool because we were kind of thinking beforehand, you have people probably like me, honestly, who really mostly know Marvel for the movies, but then you obviously have people like you who know them for the comics. So have you always been into comics? You've read the comics and stuff?
The majority of the time, more so like I've always had an interest in the stories of Jim Starlin, especially the Infinity Sagas.
Okay.
So that in the original, the OG Guardians, like with Charlie 27, Martin X, Vance Astro, Yondu, the original Guardians lineup, that and the Infinity Sagas of Jim Starlin were always the ones that I had read the most out of every story. Yeah.
That's really cool. So, this is a loaded question, but would you ever want to actually create a comic or like create characters or anything like that? Because your art, obviously, recreating or not, like your art is on par. So, have you ever thought about doing something like that?
So, actually, I have thought about it, and I do like, and that because naturally I always like brew ideas. Like I keep like something like hidden in the subconscious just in case. But actually, now we can tie this into a previous question that I know you want to ask, which was regarding my contacts.
Yes.
Like why I have this look. So one of the things I came up with like post pandemic was a fear like if I'm going to be like a traveling artist, like maybe I should have something more distinct a look. Mm-hmm. And so I had originally just a tank top, but then it evolved into this hoodie in which I chopped off the sleeves. And it,
which
of course, since we're just
I would buy one of those, to be honest. Like those little hoodies, I would buy one. I don't.
It's on Amazon.
It looks so cool.
Yeah, it's on Amazon with handprint and everything. You just have to chop off the sleeves and you can get it too.
It looks so cool.
But yeah, and to top it off, since we're still coming back from the pandemic, I also had like a paint splatter mask which I wore on my face. So I comboed it with this, so it almost looked like a superhero onesie. But then also as a cosplayer, since a lot of my characters that I cosplay have different colored eyes, I originally did a weird reddish color for my very first out-of-state appearance. But then when I got to Duluth, I decided to, you know what? I like these different colors. What if I gave myself heterochromia? And so like I decided to do a different colored eye look, how like just like a paint splatter look. And so like, of course, you can see my profile picture on my Instagram, and it ended up evolving into that. And so, like a lot of times, you see my paint splatter hands created as like it's almost like this like reality bending like superhero kind of persona who can just like kind of create reality or rewrite reality. So something similar along that lines. But I have thought about actual like comic book stories based on, and not just like artists, but like based on like musicians, based on dancers, based on writers, just like based on like all different forms of arts, of like the 5 main forms of art. So I have thought about it. Just like no actual like scripts have been like set in stone, just more so like
gotcha.
Yeah, more like plot lines, character names, etc.
That's really cool. I think that's awesome. It's plotting the next step. Do you think you're going to do that sometime in the future? Do you plan on kind of pursuing that?
Combining all those different arts together in something like that soon?
Oof. I'd say if like somebody were to like give me the chance to create, because I mean, I really would like to approach it with as much passion as possible and make sure like it's done like right the first time. That way it has the chance to even grow to begin with. So it's more so just like trying to work towards like continue to like make a name for myself. That way when the time comes, I'm ready to like present this idea that like I can move full force toward it. But in the meantime, I definitely know for a fact that it's definitely not ready in any way. But like somebody was like willing to like want to work with me, like heck, if any like comic book publishing company, or if I like wanted to do like a manga version of it, or like a mini series, or like heck, even if it was like a short animated mini series, I mean any format would do. Like I would be down to like try to create such projects.
That's so cool. Yeah. As a creative, like you can definitely see it again when you just see, you know, your art, your look, like you can see the creative, and I I think it's cool. I hope it becomes a reality because I think it definitely should be a reality. Of course, I'm not the one who's actually making those decisions, but I think it should be, and I would love to see it as a reality. I'd watch it.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll happen.
Thank you.
Man, I think that's all I have. Do you have anything?
No, we're just excited. We're looking forward to seeing your art, here live at Via Colori October. Are you going to be here the 20th and the 21st?
Yeah, I will be there Saturday and Sunday. Sunday, I may have to leave early because I do have to work at 5 in the morning back at home. So usually I always come home very sleep deprived, but it's worth it every time. But yeah, Saturday and Sunday I will be there because I did request another 10 by 10 piece, and I believe I requested another balcony section. So just like the one piece one I did last year, I should be back around the same location.
Nice, and that view is amazing too. Right on the river and the sun right there. It's beautiful. So
and actually, that one was my favorite piece from last year because I wanted to create like that majestic look of like a ship on the ocean. Just like I wanted to create like that specific adventurous piece right by the river, and so like that really made my entire year just be able to like do what I wanted to do. And despite the fact it didn't get like viral like my Guardians of the Galaxy piece, is like that was the one like in terms of like color design and be able to create that specific spot like that. I love this so much.
It really is cool, man. It was a pleasure to be able to talk to Dusty and, for her to link us up and make this happen, to be able to talk to you. It's just been an honor. We can't wait to see what this Via has in store. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. We can't wait to see what you're going to put out, which, again, we won't put out any spoilers. We won't ask any questions yet, but we probably will while we're there. We plan on being there both days, and we can't wait to talk to you some more, man. It's an awesome story. So I can't wait.
We'll see you. Yeah, can't wait. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say before we?
Yeah. Is there anything else you got to add? Anything you want to shout out? Anything you got coming up? Anywhere you're going, or just your socials, which we'll put in the description.
Yeah, just my socials. Socials should be good. But yeah, I believe I should be also right before Via Colori appearing in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee on the first Sunday of October. But otherwise,
I love Pigeon Forge, man. The mountains
are awesome there.
Amazing. I love that area.
Yeah, the whole Pigeon Forge Gatlinburg area is so cool.
Always.
So, since you brought it up, what do they have? I guess they have a chalk art festival that happens there too.
Yes, you do.
That's so cool. So we didn't really know much about the chalk art festivals that happened before Via, but I mean, what is that festival in Pigeon Forge?
So it is like it's a 1 day chalk the walk. Usually lasts about 8 hours, and it takes place on like the island, which is kind of like an amusement park type area. Like they have rides, they have attractions, they have shops, restaurants. But yeah, it's just like a kind of like a fun little venue where you can just like chalk along the way. And actually that was another one. It was a 2021. It was a nature theme festival, and I chalked my friend again. I used him as a model. It's not depicted here, but you can find it online. Then last year I had returned, which was an entertainment theme festival, and I did a Robin Williams piece that had won a best in show. And yeah, so right now I am slated to return currently, but yeah.
That's so cool. Just learning so much more about the chalk art, and I'm so thankful that we were able to get connected, man. We will definitely be stopping you at Via Colori. I hope we don't cause you any issues or delay you too much, but we will definitely be looking out, and I can't wait to see what you have in store. So
Thank you.
I guess with that, you got anything else?
Nope, can't wait.
All right, with that, we will see everybody next time, and we will definitely see you at Via Colori.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
Interest of the greater good for me to smoke a joint and calm down.
I am the greatest. He'll fall an ace to prove that I'm great. And if he keeps talking jive, I'm gonna cut it to 5.